So hi, my name is Gabor Maté. I'm a medical doctor from North America. I've been working with ayahuasca for over 10 years now in many different contexts, including in North America, here in Peru, Colombia. This is my first time at the Temple of the Way of Light. I came here to lead a group, and much to my surprise, I was the one that ended up being led. The Shipibo healers here, within a few moments of being with me, realized how much help I needed to clear some stuff out that I had been carrying really all my life. And they also found a way to work with it. So I've had the most profound 5 days in terms of healing, as I can identify at this point. At any moment, at any time in my life. The setup, the venue, the organization, the integrity, the absolute respect for tradition, the humility, wisdom, and sheer subtle and sophisticated skill of the maestros and the maestras is something hard to put into words, but I've experienced it. I've experienced an energetic clearing, I've experienced an emotional clearing, I've experienced the joy and a peace that really is beyond my experience. And I've also learned how to work with myself now in a way that'll keep this process going. What can I tell you? For those that are called to work with the plant, this is the place to do it in the authentic context, right at the source, and no secondary reflection of it or imitation of it elsewhere can possibly match the authentic, true, grounded nature of this experience that's offered here at the temple. So this work is about much more than just the plant, of course. It's a whole tradition to do with teachings and culture and other plants and a whole relationship to the rainforest here. It's far too much to try to explain in a few words, nor do I have the skill to do so. But being here, I've really got that the true healing is not just about the plant experience. It's about the whole context and the whole way in which that experience is made available to people. So I'm very grateful for whatever stars led me to come here, ostensibly to help heal others and to find really that it's really about my own healing. I came to the temple to help lead a retreat, mostly for healthcare providers, that is to say physicians, psychiatrists, specialists of various kinds, psychologists, counselors, psychotherapists, and so on. And it was really rather funny what the Shipibo healers told us, because they're being medicos themselves, they're being healers themselves. They put profound emphasis on their own healing and their own clearing. Anybody that comes into the healing professions, in my experience, and this includes myself as well, does so in significant part because of their own healing that they need to do, unresolved stuff that they haven't yet cleared, which is okay. But then we go out there and then we work with a lot of people with difficult histories, with traumas, with disturbed energies, with illnesses, and it is illusory to think that we don't absorb these energies of the people that we work with. Nothing in Western medical education, which is a very biologically based, narrowly focused separating organs from one another, separating the mind from the body based approach. Nothing in the training actually prepares us to clear ourselves, to deal with our own unresolved stuff, let alone to clear out the energies that we daily absorb working with really challenged human beings. And so these Shipibo healers found it more than ironic that this group of healers came here carrying more dark energy than a lot of other people do. Because again, in their tradition, they'd just be naturally working on that. So in terms of our work then, once we go back into the world of the North American medical or Western medical system, we've learned something, which is that the multidimensionality of human beings on the emotional, spiritual, physical, and energetic level, to which Western medicine pays only attention to the physical part. It knows nothing about the energetic part. Barely acknowledges the spiritual part, largely ignores the emotional part. So that unity is just embodied here. And then, in learning how to be with ourselves and how to, sometimes in difficult moments in ceremony, be really there with whatever pain or fear or agony or rage is arising within us, we actually learn to be with other people. We learn to be with those energies without identifying with them, without taking them on, without making them into a problem. And so, even if, and a kind of spaciousness of mind that evolves or reveals itself in this process. But what if all the healers that came to this retreat, let's say none of them ever worked with the plant again. I mean, many of them I think will. Let's say if they didn't, but what if they just took that sense of unity, that spaciousness, that capacity to be with difficult energies without being judgmental of them or being scared by them, and just the willingness to be with people no matter what's happening for them. What if that's all we got? What an incredible infusion of fresh healing energy that would be into the Western medical system. So it's not just the plant that people are working with here, they're working with the whole system. And that system has a lot to teach our highly technologized, in many ways brilliantly advanced Western system, but it's lacking something that the example of this particular healing technology could really supplement and fulfill and complete, I should say. I came here already knowing that who we're being is much more important than specifically what we're doing. So in any healing modality, except in the most technical fields like orthopedics, where you just have to set bones, but in any healing relationship that involves interacting with people, who we're being is more important, or at least as important as the techniques that we have at our disposal. But in terms of who we're being, I learned something here, which is that we create who we're being. We create it regularly in our lives. It's not a given. Who we're being is not a given. It's not given to us. Now, there may be a deep being that is just part of our nature. It's not quite what I'm addressing here. I'm talking about energetically who we're being. And that depends. And I came here thinking that, for myself in any case, I had this deep trauma that needed to be cleared somehow. That is that uncleared trauma that was creating blockages in my life and emotional problems for me. I learned that wasn't actually the case. What actually is the case is, am I doing the work to take care of who I'm being on a daily basis. And so I may have all kinds of right intentions and do good work in the world, but in terms of my own joy and therefore my capacity to broadcast a healing possibility and invite it in the other person, I have to do the work regularly required for my own healing. Now, that actually requires integrity. And integrity means being one's word. That my actions line up with my declared intentions on a regular basis, and when they do not, I take care of it. I clean it up. Now that actually, without going into details, became an issue for me here at the temple, and with support and the very kind patience of the maestro I was working with, it was resolved. But it was an instantaneous example of how spontaneously, whenever we're out of integrity with ourselves, that's going to affect how we feel, how we act, and the whole community around us. Now, in terms of Western healing, that's not an issue that's even considered, because we don't look at the practice of healing on the being level. We just look at it on the doing level. So this experience here is again a primer in the beingness aspect of healing. It's easy to think that one comes here to drink the plant and go, participate in ceremonies. You have to be here to appreciate that it's a much broader process. And I was speaking just now about who we're being in the integrity piece. So at the temple, there's been a conversation about integrity and integration now for a number of years, a necessary conversation. And in the last couple of years, a person I know, Richard Condon, has come in to actually deepen the conversation around integrity, around integration, about aligning people's lives with their intentions. And what I can say is that in this process that I went through, those conversations with Richard and those conversations with Matthew Waterston, who's the founder of the Temple of the Way of Light, those were essentially in my own healing as well. So that the healing process wasn't just between myself and the plant, or myself and a maestro, but it was contextual, embedded and grounded in the whole group process, which is very consciously led and directed and guided. And without that guidance, I don't believe, in fact, it's not that I don't believe, I know I wouldn't have had the healing experiences that I've had. So I'm very grateful for that. So when I began this process, I had this idea that, to be fulfilled or satisfied in the world, or not be thrown off course by this or that incident or event, what I needed to find was my own value. If I valued myself, if I considered myself worthy enough, then that'd be the basis for health and helpful activity in the world. That all may be true, but as I come to the end of this process, it's not value that I have identified. What did I identify? I valued myself insofar as, actually, yeah, it is value. When I was told that I need to do my own healing work, I valued myself enough to say, yes, that's true, I accept that. So I'm going to put my energy purely into my own healing for the next 5 days. Not looking at emails, not looking on the internet, not helping other people, not be concerned with other people's process. Just actually valuable enough that I deserve the attention. Which is something I point out to others about their own process, but it's not something I've applied to myself. So the value actually shows up in the attention that I give myself and the importance that I place on my own process. That itself manifests the value. Just giving that attention and devoting that energy to self-healing, that itself is its own value. And what I find at the end is infinitely more important than any self-concept, which is a peace that I experience inside. And damn it, I'm 75. I deserve that peace. Every human being deserves that peace. Every human being has a right to find that clarity and that joy and that tranquility inside. Now, I don't claim to believe that life will ever be as pleasant seeming as it does to me this morning, but I found something in here that I only intuited or intellectually knew existed. And so the value is in the experience of oneself.